about a Man United deal we're looking at right now. £25 million is the reported fee it may cost. Amrabat to Man United. What are you saying?
Bargain. There's been some good bargains already. McAllister, bargain. Maddison, bargain. But if you get him for 25 million, mate, oh my days. Yeah, like I think the World Cup highlighted how good he was. Yeah, and then I thought he was easily Fiorentina's best player on the pitch in the Conference League final.
Yeah,
I thought he was class, absolutely brilliant, which was the opposite of Declan Rice, funny enough, because I didn't think Declan Rice played very well in that final. Yeah, so listen, you need a player in that position. I'm shocked that you haven't already gone and done that. Like making Mason Mount your first signing kind of shocked me a little bit because you need a player in that position. You've got Casemiro, but Casemiro is not really that deep-lying, destructive kind of player. He can do that, obviously, of course he can. He's good at everything, but he's more of an all-rounder, like box to box. He can score goals, he can defend. And I think if you put Amrabat next to him, mate, oh my God, that, and then Mason Mount in there as well, Bruno, you've all of a sudden you've got options. Yeah, whether you keep Fred or McTominay remains to be seen, but I think it's quite clear that them two ain't good enough for Man United. Fred's better than McTominay, in my opinion, but I don't think either are good enough for Man United, mate.
Yeah,
and I think Amrabat takes that up a level. Yeah, and you ain't going to be able to beat up Casemiro and Amrabat if you put them as a pair in the midfield, are you? Let's be real.
Well, that's the of course that for me is what I'm focusing on is the element of if you have those two as your, you can call them a double pivot or two of your three that will become a. Listen, if you play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, when you're defending, you almost those two types of players will drop back anyway. So I don't really care about the formation, but breaking down that midfield will be nigh on impossible. They'll protect the back line brilliantly, and if it's £25 million, it is an absolute snip. I don't care if it goes 40, 50, 60 million. I think Amrabat is worth it. And I also something I was looking at earlier, and I'm going to double check and get this wrong. Is the age profile of him as well, because for me. When I think about his age profile, that's at 26.
26.
Yeah, he's 26. He's not a kid. He's not a baby. You're not bringing someone in who's 21 years of age. And for me, I want this to happen. Now, there are a few reports in Italy that he's agreed to personal terms. The Italian press has exaggerated a few things this summer. So maybe we've just started, preliminary talks. But I hope this is a real one. I genuinely hope Man United are progressing this and they're pushing it forward because you see this from CR saying Amrabat is shocking, mate. Yeah, you might be talking about the one that was his brother at Watford?
Yeah.
Like, you might be talking about, you might be talking about Nordin Amrabat. Do you know what I mean? He's 36-year-old big brother. But you're definitely not talking about the Fiorentina player, in my opinion. But I think he'd be a great addition to Man United.
And the thing is, in the market that we're in now, players are going for stupid money, mate. Like, I don't know how long he's got left on his current contract, but even if it's 1 year, I mean, that's still a bargain. Like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. If you can get him for under 40 million quid, when we're seeing the likes of Havertz, Mason Mount going for like 60 mil. Right, and Mason had 1 year left on his deal, and he's gone for 60 million. If you can get a player in that's been around the block, played in World Cups, like played in final, albeit he lost the final for the Conference League, and people are laughing and say it's only a Conference League. Well, still got to get there, and it's still a final, and it's still a precious situation. So. He's been in some big moments, and we see in the World Cup that he has got quality. So, a lot of people do always want to go down. I'm one of these. I fall into this bracket at times. I want more proven Premier League players at my club. Yeah, I want players that have done it week in, week out in this league, which is why I'm buzzing we got Declan Rice. But if somebody said to me, you can go and get Amrabat for 25 million, I'm getting him as well. Yeah. Like, if that's his price, I want him as well then, because we're looking, your club, my club, other clubs are looking at Lavia, Caicedo. No, we're talking big dough for these players, and albeit it's not my money and I want the very best players at the club. If he's available for 25 mil, that's a no-brainer, mate. Like, and he gives you, his passing is not great. I don't think he's an elite level passer or anything, but you ain't going to bully him. Yeah. And he will be combative and he will win the ball back a hell of a lot. And he drives forward, which is something Declan Rice does it as well. They drive forward and it scares teams and it brings players out of position, which opens up spaces. So,
of course, if you have him and Casemiro on the pitch, then you can just give the ball to the Mounts and the Bruno Fernandezes of this world, the more attack-minded midfielders to go and do what it is they need to do. A few people in the comment centers, he have a bad injury record. I just had a look while Lee was talking. So, he had 4 injuries last year. Well, they're listed as injuries, but they were for 2, 3, and 4 days at a time. 2 of them are rests. They're like one game here, one game there. He's never missed more than 3 games with an injury, barring once where he got injured for nearly a year, and he missed. I think he missed 16 games, but that was back in 2018. So he had a bad ankle injury and missed nearly a year. I'd have to research what that was. An ankle injury for a year sounds like ligaments or break, but outside of that, all his injuries have been 2 or 3 days here and there. So that
don't really make any difference anyway, Terry. Thomas Partey didn't have an injury until he played for Arsenal. And the Premier League is more grueling. Of course it is. Like some of these other leagues, you get more time and space on the ball. You know, like soon as you get into the Premier League, you've literally got 3 players on you as soon as you take your first touch. So you know, players are going to get injured, even if they haven't had any injuries previously. That's just the nature of the Premier League. So, but no, mate, 25 mil. The thing is, for 25 million quid, you could put him on a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal, and if it don't work out after the first season or the second season, you still get your money back. It's not like you're going to do 100 mil like you did with Anthony. You ain't getting that money back.
And that's why some of those cheaper signings, they're less risky because they don't eat into the budget. They're easier to move on. And equally, look, Casemiro, I think, has got 2 or 3 top years left in us. At least 2, if not 3 more top years. But then at the end of that, you're still going to have a guy now who will be about 20, 29. So you've got cover for him. We also struggled last year without Casemiro available. So you need that there. And I think it will then free up more budget to potentially go out and put a bit more money down on strikers. And strikers is an interesting one because I still think there could be a sting in the tail for Tottenham when it comes to Harry Kane. That's takeover pendant. And listen, I'm hoping Joel Bayer and Rio do know something. Obviously, Rio's connected. They know, as you would call him, Pornstein and things like this. And I'm hoping that the takeover happens so there's more money. But I saw a striker option today, and it was Teremi, who is 30, and Højlund, buy them both. And I looked at it and thought, if you can't get Harry Kane, that you could pick up Teremi at 30 years of age, good level goal scorer, and a young player in a Højlund, I don't mind that. I don't mind like technically gifted, both can score goals, one that's developing for the future. Like, I'm not saying Teremi's world class, good footballer. He's not world class, but he's light years ahead of a Weghorst, if that makes sense, as a backup striker. I think making Højlund the out and out number 9 at his age for the price they could come in for. I don't think he's that guy. He's not a Haaland or an Mbappe. He's not a young striker or like a Michael Owen or a Nelka was. You know, some 18, 19, 20-year-olds are just, they're men straight away, and he's got to be developed. And I don't want him to be thrown into the team and expected to be the hero. So that could be an option for us, as the money isn't all quite there as of now. But yeah, I'm intriguing to know what we're going to do because Mount's going to be announced. I think he might be announced tonight at 7 p.m.
He's passed his medical, isn't it?
Yeah, medical's done. Contract signed earlier on today. He's going to be a United player, and I don't know. I know you hate this, but I'm actually coming round to the idea. I'm coming round to it, Lee. I'm coming round to it.
What's a Mason Mount?
Yeah.
Why'd you say I hate the idea? I said on here last week, I think it was, he gets way too much stick.
My logic, not Mason Mount personally, my logic, because I trust my manager.
You trust your manager. This is the same manager. Yeah, by the way. Right, this is the same manager. Yeah, who started the same 11 again after you got battered 7-0.
And we won 4-1 against in the Europa League. So
doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You still started, and not only that, it's the same manager got spanked 7-0. I think it was your second biggest defeat ever in Europe against Sevilla. Like, there's not really a lot to trust. I know he won you a trophy, and that's all great, but mate, some of the decisions that manager made last season was shambolic. Let's be real. Like Weghorst, like, what's that all about? You know, and then playing certain players continuously when they were dropping stinkers. You know, giving Jadon Sancho 3 months off and then him coming back and doing nothing. Like, some of the decisions are just out there. So I think this is a big season for him. Yeah, and I know it probably doesn't help that you've not got the ownership situation sorted yet, but mate, come on, seriously, like I would still be sat on the fence looking at that manager thinking, yeah, you've still got a long way to go to convince me, mate. Like, and it's not just me being salty at Man United because they won a trophy or anything like that. I just don't get the hype with that manager. I've not seen anything in terms of when you play well, you play well. Like, and some of the goals you scored last season, great team play, and you can see that's what he's trying to do, yeah? But there's no consistency with it, and he's trying to, like, you you have to adapt to the players that you have. Like, and when you try and do this passing out from the back and all of that, and he's got David De Gea doing it, passing into Harry Maguire, I mean, that's just never going to work. So why are you continuing with that? Like, some of the things are just strange.
Well, I would say this though about it. There were lots of times where we weren't playing out the back. We played a lot more long ball last season than fans wanted, and then he was criticised for, well, is this all he is? Is he just a transition manager? So the interesting thing is, I hear your criticism, but then I've heard the complete opposite, which is, well, where's the Ajax style of play? Where is the playing out from the back? Where is the high press that he wants? And it's all been documented in a number of articles and fan blogs recently. This is the summer where he gets rid of more of the deadwood and he brings in more players that fit his ideology. You know, we all saw year one, Pep Guardiola at Man City did a lot of what Pep Guardiola does. By the way, they still had a team that hadn't been seen as a failure and didn't have its worst season in 40 years. It still took him a year, you know, fourth in his first season, lots of defeats, didn't really click. It was after his second summer, more money being invested, that you saw them go to a completely another level. Now, I'm not suggesting we're going to go and have a Centurion season. I'm not making that claim. But we've also seen, if you think about what a lot of Arsenal fans were talking about at the beginning of Arteta, is he a pragmatist? Will we ever play nice football? You look at the way you play football now, that's nice. And if you go back and watch your first full season under Arteta, style of football, the average
I'd rather not.
Players. But you get my point, though. There's an evolution of it. So for me...
Yeah, but it's almost like you buy better players, you get a better performance on the pitch.
But that's exactly it. So this is what I would say about the criticism of Arteta.
Ultimately, sorry to cut you off, but ultimately, you say that about Arteta, yeah, and I know what you're referring to in terms of comparing him with Ten Hag. Yeah, Ten Hag has done exactly the same as what Arteta has done in terms of his first season. Arteta did it in half a season. They both won a trophy. The difference now is because Arteta didn't. I think he only signed Cedric and Pablo Mari. Maybe I think they were the only two he signed in his first half season. I may be wrong, but then after that, he's ripped everything up and bought his own players, and we've got better style of play. We've got more cohesion. The team's more compact, and it's better to watch. But ultimately, he hasn't won anything since. And this is where Ten Hag now needs to kick on as well, because
I agree with that.
The trophy, but now you have to challenge for everything.
But no, I agree, and that's my view. I think we won a trophy. We also, the difference between his first season and Arteta's is he came third in the league, which isn't a trophy, but you're the third best team in England as opposed to being the eighth best team in England. So that I'd much rather be third best than eighth best and progressing. But I do agree with you. It's about moving on to that next level. And I think signings like Onana, signings like Amrabat, I'm not convinced by Mount, but the manager is. So again, I'm just going to and when I say put my faith in him, what I mean by it is I'm not going to sit here and moan. I see people on Twitter every day moaning. And for me, it's a case of I've put my criticism out. I'm going to sit back now and wait to see what happens before I continually judge, because it's like saying you like a certain cuisine or you like without tasting it, or I love listening to a certain album that you've never listened to. You have to wait now, I think, before the judgment comes out. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one with Man United. Go on, mate. Go on.
I was going to say, can I just read this comment out? There's a guy SM in the chat. It says, Lee, you do know that how transfers work. Ten Hag has his list of targets, but United is so cheap and so poor and in such chaos that he's getting backups to his backup options. Well, in that case, leave. Because I remember when he first took over the job, he said that he has the say on transfers. His words came out of his mouth. He says, I have the say on transfers. So if he's gone into Man United, knowing that he's in control of transfers, albeit he's not in the negotiation room with the hierarchy and all that when they're doing the deals, I get that. But if he identifies a target and that target comes to Man United, that's his player. Yeah, it's not like excuse me, it's not like Man United have said, well, yeah, you wanted this player, but you're getting Mason Mount instead. He wants Mason Mount. And let's be real, Mason Mount for 60 million with 1 year left in his contract is not the Glazers being cheap. Let's be real with it. Mason Mount's not a 60 million pound footballer.
I get where you're coming from, but let me just logically on this though. What's your dream car to go out and buy?
Car?
If you give up any car in the world, what would you buy?
Probably Aston Martin DB9.
Right. But if I only give you if you've only got the money to go and buy a Ford Fiesta Finesse, my first car by the way, that doesn't mean even though you get the choice between the Ford Fiesta and the clapped out Vauxhall Corsa, that doesn't make it your dream car. If the only budget you've got is a Veghorst, that doesn't. Yes, the manager's picking that, but you're trying to pick the best of a bad bunch that you can choose from. So that's where I would defend Ten Hag. Is there've been times where the club, I mean, he fought really hard to get Casemiro. They were going to give him Rabiot. You know, he.
But that's what I'm saying. If you look at the players that he
Yeah.
signed, that comment from SM is completely off. 60 million on Casemiro, world-class footballer. Mason Mount, cool, he's not world-class, but he's still a decent footballer, and they've shelled out 60 million on him. Yeah, who else has he bought? Lissandro, 50-odd million. We're not talking about cheap and cheerful players here. We're talking about decent players.
I totally understand. His main signings, barring Anthony.
100 mil.
Yeah, well, no, 80 mil.
Okay, 80 mil.
90 million euros. They keep getting put up to 100 million, and I don't understand.
I noticed that I think it's BR Sports always put it out in dollars just to make it sound more as well.
What people do, people just go, I'm surprised I haven't seen it in rupees or you know, like Spanish pesetas back in the day, because they're like a million.
Turkish lira. Every pound was a million.
Yeah. Like something like that. Like I see it all the time with that. I'm just like, they love to exaggerate that.
But you have spent a lot of money with that manager, and the players you've brought are not cheap and cheerful. I know you got in a couple of
where I agree with you, I just want to say where I agree with you is he has to go on to another level this year. With whatever happens, he has to go on to another level next year. So completely and utterly understand that there's pressure on him. I don't expect us to win the league next year in terms of, I don't think we're the favourites, but I expect us to push and get into a challenge. I expect us to do well in the Champions League.
You need to start off better, because let's be real, you finished 9 points behind us. So 15 off the top. Was it 15, 14 off the top? Something like that. Yeah, but your first 3 or 4 games, you were shocking. So if you get a better start and be more competitive in the bigger games, like Man City, Arsenal, I know you beat us at Old Trafford, but away from home, you need to nick a draw. You can't lose in stoppage time. You need to nick draws and in away games where you're struggling away from home against the big teams, you know, and beat them at home. Yeah, as soon as you do that point swing is completely mad.
Our home record, we need to keep last season's home record, barring that. Remember, we lost that first game of the season at home against Brighton, and then we
lost. We got battered.
And then we 2-1 we lost to them. Yeah, and then we didn't lose another game at home for the rest of the year. Like, we need to maintain that home record and do better away from home against the top half the table. And then we're cooking next year. But you're absolutely right. There is definitely 100% a lot of pressure on us to improve next year.